Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. We are here with Andy Shectman, the CEO of Miles Franklin. You probably heard about us every single week. We have new deals. I will link this week's deals in the description of the pinned comment. If you guys want to purchase, just send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know I sent you. Andy would love to hear it. We have a lot to talk about, so I think this is going to be a great show today. And if you guys wanted to also subscribe, I have a giveaway coming up. I'll be announcing the winner next week, so hurry up and enter. May the luckiest stacker win. So Andy, what's up? What is going on?
Oh man, what isn't going on? It's a situation where the world is spinning out of control. Seems to be moving much faster than most people would have bargained for, and myself included. There's a lot going on, and I think it's starting to become a little concerning, to say the least. But well, that's what these shows are all about, and we try and to shed a light on what's happening and hopefully make heads or tails of it. So it's good to be back. Good to see you again. And I don't know, where would you like to start?
Yeah, I don't know how deep you want to go into what's happening, over with the Palestine-Israel situation, but I would like to play into how that would affect precious metals. I always tell people, I'm not a political channel, but I have to cover stuff that affects the price of silver. That's what I do. So if that stuff affects the price, I have to, kind of dive into it. So what do you think is going to, I don't know how to word this. How do you think this is going to play out in terms of affecting the price of silver? I'll put it like that.
I think ultimately this will have a major impact on the dollar, first and foremost, and on the cost of energy. But when you talk about the value of, let's talk about gold for 1 second. And because unfortunately, I should have really figured it out in silver, but in gold, just last week, it reached all-time highs in the second and third largest economies in the world, in China and Japan. It's reached all-time highs in most currencies around the globe, in the respect that it is the strength and the unjustified inordinate strength of the dollar, the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry basket, that has blurred what gold and silver's real effects are. Now, since day one, you and I have talked a lot about my idea of the BRICS and what happens when the dollar loses its sole settlement status for oil, the deal we struck with the Saudi kingdom in 1974. Well, we're going to protect you, and for that, you'll value oil in dollars and take the proceeds of those dollar sales or the oil sales and put them into treasuries, recycle them, make a return. Well, look how that's working out for the Saudis right now. Not only are we inflating away our currency to worthlessness, the treasury market will go down over the last 3 years as being the worst bear market in history for bonds. And so not working out so well, and nor is our ideological aspirations perhaps lining up with the Saudis. We told them we're going green. We signed an executive order. Prior to that, we weaponized the dollar, made everyone think, hey, maybe we're next. This is the rallying cry, the coalition, if you will, of safety in numbers. You talk about hypocrisy, the way that part of the world views the United States. We invaded Iraq 20 years ago, 2003. They would tell you it was done illegally because we were in search of weapons of mass destruction. What do you know? We didn't find them.
Right.
And we toppled their regime. We destroyed their country. We put in a new regime, right? In 2022, they made $90 billion in oil revenue last year. They don't get to decide what to do with that oil revenue. It goes to the New York Federal Reserve. They asked the U.S. a few days ago, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, hey, can we have $1 billion, please, of our $90 billion that we made last year? And they said, no, we can't. Because they said no. They're sanctioning 14 of the banks right now for trading with Iran to buy natural gas to cool their homes in the midst of 130-degree summer. They get sanctioned. This is a country we supposedly liberated, and we still have a military presence there. We are still controlling their oil revenues and telling them what they can and can't do with it. This is the coercion and the hypocrisy that the world is pushing back against. This is the hegemony that the world is pushing back against. And when you look at a situation where the interests of the Arab nations are not aligned with the West, when you look at BRICS controlling roughly 80% of the world's oil, with Iran, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Russia, this is a problem. And when you talk about the fact that what has made the dollar the world reserve currency is indeed the protection of the Saudi kingdom, who has signed an agreement with Russia to protect them the day after we left Afghanistan in an embarrassing fashion, who has joined the BRICS, who was on the Belt Road with the other OPEC countries, all of them on the Belt Road Initiative, which in and of itself is 75% of human population, who joined the Shanghai Cooperation Organization along with Iran, joining BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Not a small group, the largest regional financial and military organization on the planet. Joined the BRICS New Development Bank, told everyone in Davos, the World Bank meeting, hey, we're open to taking other currencies for oil. I was shocked up until that point how fast this thesis I've had for 3 years has sped up. And now you put us in this awful war, and there are no wars that are good. It's awful. I want to make a comment on that. What I will say, regardless of religion or ideology or however you want to take it, we promised all along to protect Israel. We didn't make that same promise to the Ukraine. And, you know, I think as angry as some people are about supporting Israel, there should be equal outrage, if not more, for supporting the Ukraine. And look at it in a respect that we've given them $160 billion. What would that do to our infrastructure right now? What would that do to our border, right, to our cities that are experiencing lawlessness and homelessness? And what would that do to this country? Instead, we borrowed money that we didn't have. We're broke, we're insolvent, to give to the Ukraine, to borrow money to pay for that and for the interest. Same thing is true in the Middle East. But the difference is we promised them we would have their back, the only other democratic nation in that region. Say what you want. It was a promise. We should stick to our promises. And I'll leave it at that. But what I will say is that I think you could see what could amount to an oil embargo, or much, much worse. And either way, I think you're going to see, when you see that, you know, you got, you have all of these countries that are controlling the Suez Canal, as an example, or the majority of all of the oil movement in the world is controlled by these countries, as is the production. And when you realize that this is a situation where between the Suez Canal, which Egypt controls, of course, and the oil production, that, look, if it's an oil embargo and they just stop the flow, that's bad enough. Energy goes much higher, inflation goes much higher, and you know, the response ought to be much higher, gold and silver. But if you see what I think will happen, and that is they just make the cut sooner than they had anticipated, and say, look, we're going to take other currencies now, because not only are we not lining up ideologically, you signed an executive order to go green. You don't need us anymore. And we have aligned ourselves over the last several years with 80% of humanity, 2 of the 3 largest nuclear arsenals in the world, and the rest of the world that doesn't want to go green. We have witnessed peace deals being brokered between us and Iran, that being Saudi Arabia, between Iran and Iraq. These are countries who have hated each other, but realize that their enemy's enemy is their friend, and China, being the adult in the room, is brokering these peace deals. The infrastructure, the chessboard, is very robust and very strong and very secure, and is being laid. What is changing and maybe really accelerating as a result of this war is the speed at which the ultimate move away from the dollar happens. And that would be my biggest concern, because remember, every country on the planet for 50 years has stockpiled dollars to buy oil. So what happens, just what happens, if OPEC says, thanks for everything, but we've gone a different direction now? And every country decides to immediately dump dollars in favor of other currencies or commodities. At the same time, most of the world is shedding treasuries. And when you think about it, it is not a, if you think of a historical perspective, the act of owning government debt or treasuries as a form of savings is a relatively new phenomenon. For 5,000 years, gold was that. And is there any coincidence that as the treasury market is crumbling, the worst ever, that gold and silver acquisition by the most influential, well-funded, and well-informed traders on the globe, the central banks, has never been higher. Last year was the biggest year ever. Last 18 months, the most ever. And now this year, the first 9 months of the year, that number is up 14% year over year from last year. Over 800 or 900 tons have been accumulated by the central banks in the first 9 months. Everything is in place. And what this could do, in my opinion, is greatly accelerate the ultimate demise of the dollar being the singular sole settlement currency for oil. And that sets off a chain reaction that most people in this country, I think, will only be able to define as a religious experience, because you cannot get out of the way of what you don't see coming. It's standing blindfolded in the middle of the freeway at rush hour. And that's exactly where I think we are, or the public is, in relation to the ramifications of how this could quickly spiral out of control. And God forbid it gets much worse and turns into some sort of a World War III, where you hear talks of things that are much more dire than worrying about the world reserve currency. How about just worrying about the world? And this, this world has been held together by one thing, and that is mutual annihilation, respect. These countries don't want to ever pull that trigger or push that button. But there are countries out there that would find it to be the ultimate sacrifice of martyrdom to do that to the West, or to do that to Israel. And when that genie comes out of the bottle, God help us all. So yeah, this is a much bigger thing, and it's really quite scary to me. All politics, all religion aside, just as human beings, it's a scary thing.
Yeah. When I started originally talking to you, when we started doing these, I figured something out that was pretty interesting to me. So we're talking about, I think you said 75% of the world with oil, or wants to stick to that system. When you see all these countries buying up all the silver and gold, and they're backing this new digital currency with physical commodities, it's a win-win, because one, they get to stick to that narrative, but also if we don't have enough silver to go green, then we can't. Because that's the thing I was always mentioning, is I don't think we do. The numbers don't add up. I talk about this a lot. So if they can stop that from happening, that is, that kills two birds with one stone. And that was one of the most interesting things I think I've taken from this. I mean, like you said, and I like how you worded that. I think it's going to be a religious experience for a lot of people when we, when the severity of this situation comes to light. Because I think a lot of people just kind of sweep it under the rug, or just think it's all, it's a conspiracy almost. And that's crazy to think when there's so much evidence pointing, towards this being real. So I'm glad that you can break this down for people to understand. I think a lot of people just can't grasp that concept, or the bigger picture, like the macro. So yeah, what do you think? So for me, I've been trying to put into context how close we are to like triple digit silver. And I always said like by the year 2025, 2026, but my why is always because I think by then the silver shortage will be blatantly obvious. I think, there's no hiding the COMEX corruption by then. So what do you think is realistic to 2025 or 2026, or do you think it could be a lot sooner? I mean, I know with the wars and everything, everything is kind of happening quicker and quicker, but do you think it could be like next year? I don't think, and here's my take: if it does happen, with like if we see $100 silver in the next year, I don't think that is necessarily a good thing. One, because I wouldn't want the price of silver to go to $100 for another 20 years so I can stack more. But also, I don't think the price has enough time to stabilize. I think price stability needs to be built, because if not, then when it does hit that overbought territory or corrects, it could fall back down lower than where it started. So what do you think about that? Like triple digit silver realistically?
Look, I think when you talk about realistically, look,
Yeah.
take the price of gold right now. Let's see what gold is right now. It's 1985. And let's divide it by 7. Let's just play that game and you get $283. Keith Neumeyer, the CEO of First Majestic Silver, is telling the world that what it is coming out of the ground at is a ratio of 7-1
Yeah.
globally. And you have a situation where a handful of large commercial banks have held down the price for a very long time, where, according to Ted Butler, Bank of America has 1 billion ounces short in the OTC market. Why would anyone be short 1 billion ounces of silver in an environment like this? Now, I'm going to say something that I really didn't want to say. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but I hope this guy is listening. There is an idiot out there. His name is Paul. The guy might be the biggest idiot I've ever seen in my 33-year career. Disrespectful idiot who publishes YouTube videos to a massive audience of 400 people in his 178 videos, who called out you and me and others. And he cited the Pickaxe article about silver being used and held down by the military industrial complex, something that I read. And I know the guy, John Little, who writes it. He's a brilliant writer. And he made the assumption, I think, that I wrote this article, calling me out that you and me need to apologize to the community for this. And that for promoting something called Summa Silver, which I have never owned and never uttered ever in all of the videos I have done.
I've never even heard of them.
Well, and that's the point. This guy's just an idiot. And what I'd like to say to Paul is the article that was written by the Pickaxe is a whole hell of a lot more informative than the few videos that I could stomach watching on his channel. All of his 400 viewers, I couldn't stomach watching much more of it. And you know what I'm talking about, Paul. And so here's the bottom line. I think that the article that was written by the Pickaxe has validity. I think when you try and ask yourself, why the hell would silver be held down and maintain a massive concentrated short position? And mind you, I didn't write this article. And how my name was wrapped into this in the title of the damn YouTube video, I have no idea. I have to apologize for something I never did, and for a silver stock that I never talked about. How stupid this guy is. But regardless, I think that article, and I know I've talked with you about it, about this article that was written by the Pickaxe. I think it was very, very well researched, and I think it was very articulate. I can't speak to the legitimacy of it all, but basically what he said was that there is a whole lot more silver needed in military equipment, ranging from missiles to submarines to nuclear weapons to all of that, the high-tech electronic componentry that goes into advanced weaponry, and that it has been the military industrial complex and the banks surrounding them that have done their very best to suppress the price of silver so that the military industrial complex could continue to setting off bombs and missiles and selling them and enriching this massive complex that seems to be hell-bent on always bringing us to war. Sure made a whole hell of a lot of sense to me. So if you're listening, Paul, you ought to do your research before you call people out publicly.
The military raided silver stock, U.S. silver stockpiles.
Well, that's the point. And I
made a video about this.
Okay. I wasn't going to acknowledge it, but it made me so angry. I'm in the title of the damn YouTube. I listened to it. I'm like, oh my God, I know that article. I didn't write it. And Summa Silver, what are you talking about? I've never even heard of it. It's because I'm on with you and Chris Marcus, I guess, and maybe you've talked about it. I don't know. But my point is that there are people out there who don't get it, and there are people out there that are just flat out morons, and he's one of them. And I would just simply like to say that article that was written by John Little in the Pickaxe, to me, without knowing empirically that this is 100% accurate, He cited a lot of sources. I got to tell you,
Yeah,
they
that's the
were
thing.
legitimate sources, had a
I
lot
do.
more validity than much of the way that I've been thinking about things for a long time. I couldn't understand why these banks would hold down the price of silver, but it sure makes a hell of a lot of sense. And his whole
Yeah.
thesis was that there's more silver needed in this stuff than they're letting on. And the only way they can continue to fund wars and build the high tech weaponry is to keep the price of silver low so that they can continue to accumulate it. And maybe this is why the US Mint did such a horrible job of selling silver eagles for the last 3 years.
Boom.
They've been accumulating.
Boom.
So look,
Boom. That's what
Jordan,
it drives back to.
I just think that we need to trust our gut to
Yeah.
say to the world, we don't know everything. We're not
Yeah.
positive,
No.
but follow the facts, read a
Yeah.
bunch of things, and come up with your own conclusion.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, even though I didn't write that article, I think it was incredibly well written and very
Yeah.
compelling. And
Everything.
I just wanted to get that out there and simply say that I don't think we've seen anything yet because the price of silver has been managed, whether it by the industrial complex, military industrial complex, or the undebatable fact that a handful of banks on the COMEX market have created the largest concentrated short position in any commodity traded. And what would be the logic of that? And work backwards from there. And so I just want to say to the community, I didn't write the article, but I loved it. And as far as Suma Silver, don't know much about it, didn't have anything to do with it. So why I'm being brought up into that and you, I'm not quite sure. I had to get that off my chest.
Yeah. I always say, like, I do hours of research. I will never cover an article that I think is complete BS, or sometimes I do, but I will come from the perspective is I found some crap and I'm about to destroy it, but when I'm posting something, I do a lot more research than I think people realize. And like you said, there's sources that were cited, and it's crazy. I mean, I've dealt with this a lot over the years. It's just like YouTube drama. A lot of times it's for clicks. A lot of times people truly think but like I tell my audience, a lot of these people they're watching my videos are probably smarter, know more than I do. And I'm not trying to say I'm a know-it-all. I just like covering things and bringing it to light and talking my 2 cents, and then follow the discussion in the comments section. But
exactly. And what have I always said to you? Silver is what? It's wealth. That's it. It's not an investment. It's wealth.
That's exactly.
So, I guess we're silver pumpers. I guess that's what he likes to call us. We're shills. I mean,
if I was a silver,
I'd like to see anyone start a business from scratch 34 years ago and do things the right way and then make those comments. The people making these comments have never owned or built or done anything that is substantive in their life. And all these people think that capitalistic intentions and good intentions have to be mutually exclusive, that you can't build a business that you're proud of and work your ass off to build something and make a good living for your family while
with a bad
doing right by the public.
Right. Without, always ulterior motives. It's never just.
It's aggravating. And it shouldn't have bothered me in his 400 subscribers, but it did. It bothered me because, the only thing that I want people to understand is that I have integrity. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I bust my ass like you do every single day to research and to study and build a company that's done 9 billion in sales, while at the same time, this is my 6th YouTube video today. I've done interviews, 6. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I'm in front of the world saying these things. I don't have to do it. I feel that I'm helping even a little bit to one person. And if someone wants to think I'm pumping, great. Someone wants to think I'm a shill, great. I'm sorry you feel that way, but it's aggravating that there's just such cynicism in the world where you can't be a good person and run a good business. That's not what this country was founded on. Country was founded on people working hard, and capitalism made this country what it is. And it bothers me, and I'm sorry I even brought it up, but I just want you to know that my opinion of you is top tier, and whatever this guy said about you or about me, or he put in the show notes, every single person from Rick Rule to Big Swear and every commentator, don't listen to them. They're all a bunch of pumpers. They're a bunch of idiots. Well, Paul, you're the idiot. That's
silver pumpers always felt as like silver's gonna hit $500 in 4 months, because I'm realistic. Like I tell people, if silver does hit $100, I wouldn't see it for a couple of years. And if it did happen next year, I think it would be too soon to stay there. And it's not even about that though. Silver won't make you rich. Silver is what makes you rich. It's not
It's
even about the
wealth. And if you
price.
own enough, you're wealthy. You don't buy it
Yeah.
to get wealthy. You buy it because it is wealth that has
Yeah.
outlived everything the world has thrown at it. When you ask me, could it reach triple digits? My response to you is, well, what's the mining ratio? It's 7 to
Right.
1. What is the price of gold? 1980.
Right.
Divide by 7. Could it get there? Yes. And that's what gold where it is right now. You got people saying gold could go to 3,000. Bank of America said that.
Yeah.
4,000, 5,000. Who knows how high it goes? Divide by 7. The sky is the limit, but you don't buy it because of that.
Right.
And I want people to understand that when we see that happening, you're not going to want to go out in your new Porsche to a steak restaurant wearing a Rolex. You're not going to want to do that because it's not that silver went to the moon. It means that the dollar in which
it's the dollar going downwards.
That's right.
More dollars to get something of value. Thank you. I was about to say that.
And that's the point, is that, yes, it could go there. And if you become wealthy as a result of it, fine. That's why I say that this type of preparation, being a contrarian, seeing the facts, taking a position in it could not only allow you to financially survive, maybe you do thrive, but will it be an environment where thriving is something that is something to be excited about? Look, I hate being the angel of gloom and doom, but it's accelerating so fast. The things that we talk about are accelerating so fast that if you don't give credibility to a portion of it, which is rooted in mathematics and economics and logic, and you can see these things happening, even if you believe only 10% of what I am saying, if you do not prepare for what is coming, you're in big trouble. And when you see the biggest, most well-influential, well-funded, well-informed traders on the globe buying more gold over the last couple of years than any time in history, if you think that's inconsequential, well, then I guess you should follow Paul. And
do you think it's ironic? Do you think it's ironic that all the billionaires buy silver? Bill Gates, all these people, Warren Buffett, Jim Rogers. Do you think it's the most successful investors, people all buy silver and gold? That's not ironic.
I think that those level investors own lots of gold because it's a lot easier to make money for them than it is to keep it. And they realize it's wealth that is transitioning away from government treasuries and moving into historical wealth. I think that the people who understand the dynamics behind silver, and maybe it's these same people, they buy copious amounts of it. I mean, supposedly Buffett was the one who funded SLV way back when. And I know Bill Gates had a large position, I think, in Pan American Silver. I don't know if he still does, but they understand it. But they would buy silver because they realize that the fundamentals behind it, increasing demand, massively increasing demand, decreasing supply, and an asset that has duality in demand between industrial and monetary, and throw into it military. And those three assets, or those three demand sources, are one of the things that makes silver unique, where most things like gold is primarily monetary, a little bit industrial, copper primarily industrial, a little bit monetary, but silver is monetary, is industrial, and if you believe what the pickaxe said, which I think there's more truth in it than not, has a big role in the military industrial complex. It is an asset that is needed by multiple sources. Let's just agree to that. And it's an asset that is decreasing in nature. If you see it go from 16 to 1 to 7 to 1, and remember, it's found very near the surface, epithermal, just like epidermal.
It's a byproduct. It's a byproduct, and most silver's thrown away in landfills and never to be found again, where gold is recycled, remelted, reused, rescrapped. Silver's thrown away. It's found by accident. So all this silver that gets dug up is within a couple of decades is gone. So if you incorporate that as well, it's even lower than 7 to 1.
Of all of the silver that came to market last year, roughly 1 billion ounces, 65% of it came from recycling and byproduct of, hey, we're mining for tin. Hey, look, there's some silver. Only 35% comes from companies like First Majestic, Keith Neumeyer, who find it. So it's
First Majestic. I made a video about them. They're very, very bullish on silver. Right?
You know, I know Keith very well. What distinguishes him from others, he's a businessman, not a geologist, and he's a heck of
Yeah,
a businessman, and he understands it. And
yeah,
that's why I think, you know, his stock sometimes gets hit by maybe the same people, that the same commercial
yeah,
banks that are suppressing the price of the metal. They also knock down the mining shares and put a little emphasis on his, because he's done all he could to push back. He talks about this publicly. He's withheld production. He pushes back, and he's a lone voice, if you will, really amongst the mining industry, because it's a very capital intensive market. These people don't have the money to withhold the production, and because only 35% comes from silver production, those other 65% have no incentive to do anything but to sell it. So yeah, it's an interesting
yeah,
situation. And you know, the Chinese curse, buddy, may you live in interesting times.
yeah,
These sure are.
yeah. And one last thing as well. I made silver videos for 5 years before I made a single penny off this channel. This channel was not the biggest channel when I started, had 10,000 subscribers, and that was like, you made it. Like, the whole point was to just share my love, my hobby, share the coins I have, and talk about it. And then I started teaching people as I grew. But it wasn't to, 5 years to, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to start talking about silver because one day the chance of that one never crossed my mind, but just the chance of that happening to something as small as silver, especially,
Well,
that's
I'm gonna
silly to
say
think.
something on your behalf that I don't know if you've ever said, but I just met your grandfather, and you told me it was your grandfather who turned you on to silver when you were a little
Yeah,
boy, giving you
yeah.
coins, and ignited your understanding of wealth and of silver and of collecting and of all of the things. So, you know, here again, why can't capitalism and capitalistic ideas go along with good intentions?
Why
And for
can't I
those
be
who
a
think
stand?
that they
Yeah.
can't, it's just aggravating to me, because
Why?
you're a good person who's trying to do the right thing and put food on the table for you and your daughter.
I have a
And
three-year-old.
we shouldn't have to justify any of this.
Yeah,
I felt I
right.
needed
Like,
to,
like
and I
it
just,
would,
whatever.
if I can make videos, which I've been doing for 7, 8 years, and stay at home and spend more time with my daughter, why wouldn't I do that if I had that opportunity? I get to make videos I love. I get to, it's,
Well, that's why Paul has 470 viewers and you have nearly 100,000, because
yeah,
people
just,
understand that. But
I hate even
I just
talking
think
about this, yeah.
sometimes you need to say something.
Say it. Yeah,
Normally, I keep my
exactly.
mouth shut because the guy is a moron and inconsequential. But I'll tell you something. He really pissed me off. And I,
Yeah,
for one, am proud to be associated with someone who is a good person like yourself. And you know, that's the bottom line. And I'll continue to do this with you and other good people out there,
yeah,
because you know, yeah, I run a business, but by the same token, I put myself out there. I don't change my name. Everyone knows who I am, and you know, I do it because I feel it's the right thing to do. And I just have always assumed that's what good business people do. They help
yeah,
people see, you know, this is why you need it. And if you want, I hope you'll buy from me. I mean, that's the best I can do. But
yeah,
I wanted to say that because it all goes hand in hand. People are listening to us, and you and I are not the smartest guys in the room, but I can tell you from what I know about you, and I think I know you pretty damn well, we're both honest and have integrity and are looking out for everyone to do well. You're
yeah.
doing silver giveaways with your own silver.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm giving
and
away
that's what
so
people
much
don't get.
fucking
They don't understand that.
silver.
I know
I've
you're
given
doing
away
that.
so much
Well, but that's
freaking
the
silver
point.
over the
That's
years.
the point.
Since
And
1,000 subscribers.
yes.
It's always like Slayer 1K, Slayer. I'm at Slayer 100K right now, road to 100K. It's hashtag Slayer 100K. I went back. My first one was Slayer 1K. I've been doing giveaways. I can't even imagine how much, but it's because that's the least I can do
But you know
for
what?
everyone is give back.
Sometimes people need to hear the real you and I. I mean,
Yeah.
they need to know
That's the
the
first time I've
truth.
ever cussed on this channel.
But you know
You've never
what?
said the F
Sometimes
word.
it, yeah, and sometimes it just happens. And
Yeah,
I get the same way. And it's funny. I responded to this idiot, and he took down my responses, because this is a
of
chicken.
course.
I want to say a chicken, you know what, who hides behind his YouTube channel with a fake voice, and then I reply saying, I didn't write the pickaxe article, and I don't know what Suma Silver is. So kiss my bleep, more or less. And that's
Yeah.
the nice version of what I wrote. And he deleted it. So the guy won't
Yeah.
even stand behind it. And I just think people need to understand who they're listening to.
Yeah.
And, I think the bottom line is you're well read, you're well researched. I pride myself at being both. And we tell it like we
Yeah.
see it, but we always say, we don't know. This is what we
Yeah.
believe.
I call
And
out
we
B.
support it with facts.
I was covering an article the other day, and I even like I said some stuff in here is true, but I'm gonna call out this dude's BS because it was talking about like all these banks that are on the blacklist of something, and then he was like, I know 3 ways where you can protect your wealth. I was like, look, whatever his 3 ways are, I don't give. It's probably some BS. It's probably connect to stocks or the SOV or whatever. I'm saying, don't listen to that. But what he's saying is true. It's just his solution I don't care about. Like, and then I cover it. And I'll do that all the time. If I think someone's talking some BS or whatever, I'll be like, yo, like, I'm not just gonna sit here and say, go to the SO. I always talk about if you can't hold it, you don't own it. That's the truth. That's
I
one of my
guess the
favorite
moral
sayings.
of what I'm trying to say is I don't know anyone anything, and nor do you. And
Yeah,
you and I put ourselves out there and do a lot of work to try and help a few people.
yeah, that's
The
my
more, the better. And neither of us so this idiot anything, or anyone for that matter, in
yeah,
terms of an apology. And I think our track records speak for themselves. But I wasn't going to do
yeah.
it, but I had to do it out of respect to you and to me and to the community out there,
I
saying, hey,
appreciate that.
do your own due diligence. But I can
Yeah,
tell you, we're both working hard to try to bring the information to you, to open
yeah,
your eyes, to inspire you to do your own due diligence. And
yeah,
that might be the best way to say it.
yeah. The
Anyways, I
whole
won't go on if I keep
yeah.
out.
Folks, I have to apologize. While we were just recording, Andy's power actually went out. That's why you saw his screen freeze. But I said, you know what? Since we're already so deep into the episode, and I don't know when his power is coming back on. I don't know if it did immediately but I figured I'll just wrap it up by myself. We are doing episodes every Thursday. That's the day we decided that we will do this. So tune in every Thursday if you guys want to check out the Silver Stacking Podcast. Also wanted to mention that if you guys wanted to purchase from Miles Franklin, send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know Silver Slayer sent you. Also, if you guys want to contact me, all you have to do is send an email to info.silverslayer@gmail.com. Remember, I get hundreds of comments a video, and I'm posting daily videos. I'm still getting comments from previous videos. So it's impossible to keep up, it's impossible. So the best way to reach out is info.silverslayer@gmail.com. I always respond to that. I love talking to you guys. I'm talking to you guys all day long through emails. And usually people that reach out through email are more serious, have questions and stuff, comments on YouTube. It's kind of hard. But regardless, also remember that I'm doing a giveaway. I'll be picking the winner this week. I don't know, probably like Sunday. I don't know. Probably around Sunday, though. So make sure you go enter. That shouldn't be the reason you subscribe, though. It should be because I post daily videos. That's where the real wealth is. So, yeah. Anyways, I figured I'll wrap this up here. Check out our other episodes. We've been doing this for about a year now. About a year. So there's a lot of content out there if you guys want to go check that out. We've talked about a lot of different stuff. And I would love for you guys to throw your 2 cents in on what you thought about this episode. I know like the second half was a little, but like Andy said, sometimes stuff does need to be said. I love all of you guys. The whole point of this channel is to reach the person, and I've always said this, that has never heard about silver, never invested a single dollar in their entire life. The best feeling is when I get an email from someone that says, I started stacking silver because of you. That means my job is done. Because if you know about silver and you choose not to, at least you had the choice. You had the option. But if you don't know that you don't know, that, people don't even have the option because they don't even know that there is an alternative, and that's the people I try to reach. That is, that's where I'm trying to go. So I'm trying to innovate and branch out and find ways to reach people that aren't specifically looking for silver, or already know about it, so to say. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna wrap this video up here. Shout out to Andy Shectman for spending time out of his busy day to do this with me. I respect the crap out of that guy. I try not to cuss on this channel. I did for the first time in 7-8 years. That was the first time I ever cussed. But yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.